Well, Danny's getting a little work done out on the lawn. I thought I would go ahead and jump on the curbing. That's going to help define this flower bed. And one thing about this, since the flower bed is already raised, the curbing's not just going to define it, but it'll help contain it. Now, I am going to make this out of concrete, and just like Danny's pathway, it's a lot easier to do than you may think.
This shovel work is not only necessary to establish the rough outline of the curb, but also to level the ground that supports it. When you've got it close, the soil needs to be compacted to provide a solid base. Otherwise, as the dirt settles, the curb's going to crack. I'm using 4-inch strips of 1/4-inch thick hardboard to form up the concrete, and it's going to take 2 pieces to cover the distance. So, by overlapping them in the middle, I can mark the cut perfectly. Setting a stake at this location allows me to join the 2 pieces easily after each piece is leveled. If you're making an arc like this, you may have to make adjustments as you drive the stakes to get the kind of curve you want. Now, this hardboard bends easily enough, but that also means it'll need a lot of support when the concrete starts pushing on it. Our guide to concrete recommends a minimum of 5 inches for the curb thickness, so to keep a consistent thickness throughout the curb, I'm using several blocks of wood at exactly that dimension to offset the outside form board from the inside one. Once you get the curve right, you can level and attach the second form board to the stakes. I'm using screws for this particular job because I think hammering nails would knock the 1x2 stakes loose as I attach the forms. To complement the pathway that Danny created earlier, we're using the same Quikrete color formula to tint the concrete for our curb too. This batch can be mixed a little more wet than the stuff Danny used on the Walkmaker path, since we don't have to remove the forms right away. At first glance, you wouldn't think that this little curb would take that much concrete. But that 4-inch by 5-inch space, stretched out over 15 feet, adds up to an awful lot of mixing and pouring and mixing and pouring. Once the concrete is level with the top of the forms, working the surface with a trowel draws the water to the top and smooths it off. As the concrete starts to firm up, we can round off the front lip with an edging tool. And about every 3 feet, I'll use a scoring tool to create an indentation. This way, if the concrete cracks, it should happen in this recess where it'll be concealed.